Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about dating in Kenya as a white guy. I've gotten quite a few requests to do this video. I don't claim to be an expert in it in any way, but the little experience I have, I'm going to share with you guys in today's video. I think it's probably one of the most misunderstood topics online or out there, so I wanted to get into it a little bit. Now, some people think it's all fantasy, others think it's transactional, and I think neither of those are accurate. So today I want to talk about my personal experiences of dating in Kenya as a white guy, including some real moments that surprised me, like women approaching me in the mall from just a smile, why age gaps aren't really an issue here in Kenya, and the dating apps can feel almost overwhelming here in Kenya. And I'll also explain why dating a girl in Kenya feels very different from dating in the US. So stick around for today's video.
Southeast Asia calling me instead. Bangkok nights in Bali shores. Sick of dreaming, want something more. Pack your bags, don't hesitate. Gio, let's go before it's too late.
Well, the first big reality is you stand out naturally, you know. It's majority, just like in Asia as a white guy, in the Philippines. Thailand, not so much because it's so many tourists, you really don't. Philippines, not as much anymore because there are so many tourists. But, you know, back in the day when I would go to Mindanao, for example, you would extremely stand, you'd get a lot of stares and things like that. And here in Nairobi, you really, you stand out, but there are a lot of interracial couples. Lots, you know, you see them in the mall, you see them out at the clubs, whatever. It's pretty common here. It seems to be mostly European men, but I see Americans, I see Canadian guys. So yeah, it's really not that uncommon, but much less than what I would see in Asia, like with a bunch of foreigners in Asia. Here it's much less, so you do stick out more for sure. But yeah, let's address the obvious. As a white guy, you are going to stand out much more. You're different, you're noticeable, and that alone is going to create curiosity. But curiosity doesn't exactly equal attraction either. A lot of people misunderstand that. They mistake curious stares as attraction, and that's not always the case. And certainly doesn't guarantee a meaningful connection. What does surprise most foreigners is how approachable dating can feel here in a very natural human way. So I do want to share a personal story. I was approached from just a smile, and that happened twice, and probably could happen even more if I would have initiated, but this was them initiating it. And so I'll give you two real examples. On two completely separate occasions, two different women approached me just sitting in the mall. I was just sipping, having a cup of coffee, people watching like I like to do in Thailand, the Philippines, wherever I go. And all that happened beforehand was eye contact and a smile. No flashy clothes, no money talk, no confidence drinks. It was just a smile. I was just sipping my coffee. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt and baseball cap, and that's it. Kenyan women are, I would say, more observant, and eye contact definitely matters, and a smile, because all I did was give them a smile as they walked by. And these girls were in their 20s. And I think kind of a smile signals safety and openness. So, if you're not a guy who likes to smile, you know, you're probably not going to be too approachable. I guess that goes anywhere in the world, right? But approaching doesn't feel aggressive here, I would say. That kind of moment almost never happens to most men back in the US. And even in Asia, really, women don't so much approach you. They really wait for you to approach them. And here in Kenya, women are a little more bold with that. They are still very traditional, very feminine, completely different than Black American women. And but they are a little more upfront, a little more forward. You know, they're not shy to go up to a guy. But I guess what surprised me was that they approached. It was how normal it felt. No attitude, no test, no defensiveness, just conversation. And that kind of alone tells you something important about dating culture here. It's less combative, less guarded, and I guess more human. But yeah, just sipping, having my coffee, I smiled, and one girl walked by, and I saw her looking back, and I looked at her again, smiled, and she came back and just walked right up and shook my hand, and exchanged WhatsApp numbers. And that happened a second time on a separate occasion. This is just this recent trip, and gave her a smile, and her sister stopped and then turned around and came back and introduced themselves and smiled and just shook my hand, and next thing you know, we're exchanging WhatsApp numbers. And so from America, vastly different. And even in Asia, I never really found that the women would approach you so much. They would kind of wait for you to approach them. So that is a big difference that I notice here. Now, dating apps in Kenya, expect a shock. So when you're on Tinder or Bumble, those seem to be the two big ones that work really well here, or are very popular, and also free. But this is where most white guys are completely unprepared, because if you're used to dating apps in the US, Kenya is going to feel like another planet. Matches come fast. Messages come quickly. Women actually respond. Women actually message you first, and conversations flow. Your phone is just going to light up. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. This doesn't mean that every woman is serious, but it does mean interest, I would say, is far more visible here. And they aren't into, this was my one complaint in the Philippines. It seems like they were so hesitant on meeting sometimes. They're like, I'm not ready yet. Here, they're ready to meet you. Hey, let's meet tonight. Let's meet up for dinner. Let's go for a drink. Let's meet at the mall. They just seem to want to play less games, I would say. Now, so I guess that's the one thing I would say is just your inbox is just going to fill up. It really is. If you have Tinder, you can switch it to, if you have the paid version, you can switch to passport mode and just put in Kenya or something, and just, you'll see. Swipe about 100 girls or 50 girls and see what happens, and then go back to your normal setting, and just trust me. Now, age gap, a non-issue completely here in Kenya. And that's another thing that shocks Western men, is age gaps. And of course, now that happens in the Philippines. Again, I think the Philippines is, harder and harder to date in. Just my opinion. Some guys say no. Some guys say it's just as easy. Some guys say it was almost impossible for them during their trip. Just depends on the guy and where they're at and their experience, how outgoing they are, their age and looks and all that kind of stuff make a difference. But in Kenya, age gaps are not automatically viewed as a strange or negative. I think age, they look at maturity. I think the stability, not only financially, but just in life with work, jobs, whatever. Long-term thinking. I think they think that older guys have their shit together, you know what I mean? And maybe a little more family-oriented. And I think as long as you're respectful, honest, and not behaving like a stereotype, then age is rarely the first concern. It's pretty funny how really the same thing that I used to hear in the Philippines, age doesn't matter, age is just a number, same thing here. And another thing is, listen, a lot of them love mixed babies, like the Philippines. A lot of them want financial stability. A lot of them want, a lot of the same things. Really, the more you travel, the more countries you visited, the more you realize that it's really a lot of it is just the same, but in a different color. That really, women are women everywhere, and they really want the same things. They may look different. They may have a different culture, different food, different language, but it's really just the same in a lot of ways. Now, an important comparison, I think, Kenyan women versus U.S. dating culture. This is where people get a little uncomfortable, but it's important to say. I think dating Kenyan women feels very different from dating in the US. It's less confrontational energy, less defensive dating, less battle of the sexes, more femininity and warmth, less entitlement kind of on both sides. And this isn't about race, it's just about dating culture. And the women, they have this beautiful Swahili accent, but with British English. And they have just a great accent. Very well spoken. I have found that most are very educated. They're very, very feminine, soft spoken. They still believe in traditional roles, cooking and all of that. So American dating has kind of become tense, and Kenya dating still feels like cooperative to me. Now, I think the truth that many men miss, and here's where foreign men kind of mess this up, I think, is they mistake friendliness for weakness. They assume money's the only factor here. And I think they rush intimacy. They don't set boundaries, and they lead women on. So Kenyan women, for me, I think they're very warm, and they're definitely not stupid. I find them very educated. I think more so than the Philippines, way more, to be honest. I'm not trying to insult the Filipinas, but it's just a fact. And once trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild here, but they don't want to just run over to your apartment or condo. You know, a lot of them will even state that I'm not coming over to your place on a first date. So I would say what actually works is just be calm, be consistent, be emotionally mature, be honest about intentions, respect her background and family, don't overpromise, and don't flex your money. And a lot of these could be really said for anywhere, to be honest. I think respect travels further here than game ever will. So kind of my final thoughts on this, dating in Kenya as a white guy, it certainly can feel refreshing, surprising, and even eye-opening if you approach it, I think, with the right mindset. If you come with entitlement, you're probably going to fail. If you come with respect, patience, and curiosity, then you're going to do just fine. So comment down below, what kind of questions do you have? Have you had any experience with dating in Kenya? I'd love to hear it. If not, I'm sure most people honestly don't. Kenya does not come up as a place on the radar for most people as far as dating. For a safari or something, yeah, it pops up on the radar as one of the countries to do a safari. But make sure you guys subscribe for honest, real-world expat content. No sugarcoating right here on this channel, Geo on the Go. Again, subscribe, share, like, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I come out with a video. And again, still waiting on my passport. Should be another week or two. I hit the Christmas, New Year holidays, so it'll probably delayed a little bit. And then I'll head over to Mombasa to check things out. And maybe even return back to Nairobi. I don't know. But certainly for now, Thailand, Bangkok is still my home. And that is where I will reside. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Southeast Asia calling me instead. Bangkok nights in Bali shores. Sick of dreaming, want something more. Pack your bags, don't hesitate. Geo, let's go before it's too late. Time keeps slipping away from us. Keep living.